Good morning and welcome to the show. My name is Sean Smith.
And my name is Prescott Phillips, and this is Brew City Bug Talk.
On today's show, we're going to talk about the history of Volkswagens in the Milwaukee area and what it was like to grow up dealing with Volkswagens. On our show today, we have my co-host, Prescott Phillips.
Yep, I'm here, and we also have a guest in the studio here. He's been a longtime friend of mine.
I can hear the paper rattling like crazy. Yeah.
Really? You can hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, give him a crappier microphone.
I know. I don't have a crappier microphone. Okay, we'll have to edit all that.
I'll have to edit all that.
You'll edit all that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Hell no, I'm keeping that in.
We have a guest in the studio. He's been a friend of mine for a very long time. I don't even know how we met, but we've been friends for decades. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, Mike Karlman.
Well, Mike is a Volkswagen enthusiast, and he's got a lot of good stories to tell. So,
tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you? I mean, obviously, you're Mike Karlman, but how long have you been driving Volkswagens for? What got you into Volkswagens?
Okay, 10 years old, blew up the go-kart. 12 years old, my dad dragged me up to Hartford in the winter in this type of weather to chain tow one home with no heat, no running, no brakes. All I had was the e-brake.
So hold on, you were driving and he was...
He was towing me.
And you were how old?
12.
12.
Snow-covered roads.
And you were pulling it like how many miles?
From Hartford to McQuantico.
Well, for people that don't know, Hartford to McQuantico is what, 50 miles?
Yeah, it's a good bunch.
50 miles. And the weather he's talking about today, it's -10 right now. -10 Fahrenheit. We're in a cold snap, the usual cold snap in the middle of January.
What year Volkswagen was it? Do you remember?
60.
A 1960.
60.
Volkswagen Beetle?
Yep.
Very nice. Was it complete or what kind of shape was it?
It was complete. It wasn't quite a Fred Flintstone car, but, you know.
So what year would this be?
This would be 1970.
So 10-year-old car.
Yeah.
10-year-old Beetle.
10-year-old Beetle. See, back in the 60s, cars weren't supposed to last 10 years because usually everybody got a new car every year or two, so they didn't really care how long they lasted. So 10 years, those were free cars usually. I mean, I've got some free cars back when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know,
back when $50 was the big price.
Yeah, well, $50 was the going price.
I mean, my God, I miss those days.
Yeah, you missed out on all of that. All of that. Yeah, it's. So did this car ever hit the road?
This car got cut up into a Baja Bug type of thing. My dad was going to go off-road racing with it because my uncle had come home from Germany, being in the Army, came home, started building a dune buggies, and started off-road racing. So my dad wanted to get involved more than just co-piloting with my uncle.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, your Uncle Ronnie, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now, did you help him do all this? Like, was that your first experience getting into Volkswagens? Was chopping this thing up with your dad, or?
Yeah, it was it. Out flogging it because that's about the time that my dad moved out too. So I was left with the car. So it would be push started down the hill. If it didn't start, I had to push it back up the hill.
Try again.
Because I was too cheap to afford a 6-volt battery.
Trust me, I know the pain of that. I have a 6-volt right now, and those batteries are expensive nowadays. I don't know what they were back in the day, but
is this the car you drove in high school, or?
No, this car we used to take to my friend who lived close to a gravel pit, and we'd fly across the bottom of the gravel pit, go straight up it, and then hit the top, and it was just like suspended. You were just sitting there like, what's going on? So yeah, and then it would hit like a ton of bricks.
So that car eventually got destroyed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, did you have a high school Volkswagen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a 64 I drove in high school. Took me a long time to be able to figure out the heating system.
Sure.
Which in the event came to be called Peter heaters.
Yeah.
Where it was a flex tubing exhaust that you would stick in under the back seat where the heat came in the car and run it through the inside of the car. It would toast you out to the point where...
It didn't kick exhaust into the car?
No.
Not if you had good heater boxes.
Oh, okay.
No, see, here in Wisconsin, the Volkswagens had a reputation of being good and bad cars in the winter. They were good, good traction-wise, and you could get around them, but you froze your ass off unless they were rust-free and had good heater boxes. But even the junky ones, and Mike can attest to this, that you didn't need any kind of structure to the car. All you needed was one good heater box and some 2.5-inch flex pipe.
Yep.
And you just run right off that heater box, take that flex pipe, get it into the car any which way you can, usually underneath the back seat, and then you cranked it over the e-brake handle. You could aim it at the windshield. You could aim it at your feet.
So it was your everything heater. It was your defroster. It was your heater.
It worked great. You could buy a pile of junk car that the doors dropped 6 inches when you opened them. You could actually drive it all winter and actually be warm.
Yep.
See, I'm fortunate enough. The Beetle I have right now, my '64, heat works great in that thing. Like,
Well, yeah, but you're not driving it on a negative 10 degree day.
Get it out today. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, that's it. See, me and Mike remember the days when Volkswagens were not only a neat car to own, but were daily transportation. See, we lived through the transition from a daily driver from everyday cars into the collector car aspect of them.
very cool. How many Volkswagens would you say that you've owned in your lifetime? Sorry, not to cut you off, Prescott.
No, that's
I just want to make sure we didn't get too far away from Mike.
Actually, it's got to be someplace between 50 and 100. I've been doing this for 50 plus years, and there was times where it was 5, 6 a month.
Right. So when you say doing this, describe to our viewers a little bit. What do you mean by doing this? Like, what exactly do you all do with your Volkswagens?
I don't do what I used to do, but now I just work on my own thing, and try to sell some of the parts I've been hauling around for the last 50 years.
Also, you collect parts and you sell parts?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the main purpose was. Now I go to people's houses that somebody's passed away, the family wants to throw the crap away, and I show up and go, well, I can buy this from y'all. I'll just take it all. I won't nitpick. Just give me it all.
Tell the story about the split window. What was it, a 50?
Oh, yeah, the 50.
How many years did you hunt that car down?
20. 20 years. My friend was in the Army with this guy. He owned a stained glass studio out in Waukesha. And the guy had this 50 in Germany with the Porsche engine in it and a big Porsche aluminum drum brakes, and then brought it home with him. And then I got to see it sitting in his garage. And I'm like... and yeah, I'm not going to say what that.
Yeah.
So
good thing we're not on video.
So I always kept in touch and go, when you want to sell it, I come buy it. And then he started getting sick, and the wife thought, yeah, he wants to sell it. So I went over there, started inventory and everything, wanted to buy it. Dementia was pretty bad for him. Then the guy wigged out, so everything got pushed back in.
Yeah, you hate to take a car away from a guy that's clinging to a shred of a memory of
a great
just
memory.
just let him live the rest of his life loving this car. Well, once he's gone, and we can change gears.
Yep.
But, it's a compassionate thing to do.
So what happened with the car then? Did the gentleman pass away?
And she called me up, and I like to say I was there before we even hung up the phone, and gave her whatever she wanted for it, and loaded it up and all the parts.
What was this car? It was a
1950 Deluxe.
1950 Deluxe.
But it was on it was on a later pan, right? A hydraulic brake pan?
No, it was on cable brake pan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still own the car?
No. Every once in a while, somebody on Samba would say, hey, I'm looking for a split window. So I messaged this guy, and he took a bunch of pictures, flew out from California, looked at it, handed me the money. I loaded it all up and all the parts in my truck and trailer, and I drove it back to California for him, because he says, well, why can't I ship it? And I go, you can, but I guarantee you all these loose parts won't show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how long did you end up owning it before you actually sold it?
10 years.
10 years? Okay. That's a good time.
Yeah, it was a good investment. I missed it, but...
Those cars are hard to... Like, what do you do with it,
Yeah.
Because it had a few parts that were missing. To do the car justice, it needs a complete restoration. It's a 1950. I mean, how many of those are survived, right?
Yeah.
So to do a complete... And this guy in California is going to do a complete restoration on it, right?
I don't know what happened to it.
I was going to say, you haven't followed up with the guy to see if...
He's never followed up with me.
Oh, okay, so you tried to reach out to him?
Once I sold it and then lost my phone on the way home from California, I I got nothing.
So if you're listening to this episode and you're the guy who bought that car, reach out to us and we'll put you in contact with Mike.
Yeah, we
us
want to
some
know what
updates.
happened to this car. But that was just, it's a neat story, and it's neat. You get to remember, even if you didn't restore it or do much with it while you had it, you still owned it.
Yeah, you drove it for 10 years.
I didn't drive it.
Oh,
No, it was
Never
yeah.
left my hoist.
Really?
No, it stayed.
So you worked on it for 10 years.
No, I really didn't work on it. I looked at it and played with it and just
looked at the
gathered
parts.
It was
stuff.
basically a trophy of yours
Yeah,
for 10 years.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to restore a car like that. Try to find parts. You need the crazy taillights and all that stuff. If that stuff's
Yeah.
missing,
Yep.
good luck.
Not even heart taillights, round ones.
Yeah, round ones, completely round ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those are non-existent. So
How many Volkswagens do you own currently?
6.
What are they? Are they all like old school air cooled, or are they just a?
Yeah, everything's air cooled.
So what do you all have?
My 66 that people, if you've been to the car shows in the last 2 years, you've seen me driving tetanus.
Tetanus.
Yeah, that's just a sheet of rust.
yeah, it has no paint on it whatsoever.
How did you get it to be? I mean, if any to our viewers out there, this thing is from head to toe. It's rust. How did you get it to that level without just eating through the metal and just?
I bought it that way.
You bought it that way?
Wasn't that thing in a fire or something like that?
It was a Craigslist score. Tony Garcia, thank you very much for Craigslist. I bought it from him. It was all in pieces, and somebody had sandblasted it, what he said, 15 years prior to me showing up. And the pan was full of sandblast sand, right up to the bottom of the doors.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
somebody
easy
sandblasted it and set it
and
outside.
left it. The rust on it is so coarse that if you rub a bare arm on it, you will bleed.
Yep.
So hence the name tetanus.
Tetanus.
And then so you have tetanus, and then what other 5 cars?
Well, I have my 356 in Vimo, which is a fiberglass body on a Brazilian Type 3 chassis.
Pretty rare car.
I say I
and
didn't know
it's
you
a
had a 356.
And it's a coupe, not the speedster body like Prescott's. It's got a roof.
I've been looking for one of those forever. Why aren't you driving this thing?
No, you drove
Can
it.
only drive one at a time.
I would drive that thing everywhere.
You did for a while until a master cylinder
That
fiasco and all that.
That was a nightmare to find the master cylinder, because you would think master cylinder, ball joint front end is going to fit. No, it's 2 inches too long. Had to find a guy in Brazil that would pick me up one for the Brasilia. There's 3 different models of it. That the master cylinder is actually like the fill tube on the top of the master cylinder is right against the Napoleon's hat area. It's shortened so much that it's just absolutely crazy.
Really?
And
yeah, it's a stubby little deal. Yeah. They'd have to do some major modifications just to get a Type 1
yep.
master cylinder in it.
After this, you'll have to show me some pictures.
Yeah. And then my son and I have a 67 that I bought in Iowa. That guy started putting panels in it, but it had a killer motor in it, and then I basically bought it for that.
Really?
So now,
What's the motor?
don't know.
Don't know?
Haven't took it apart, but it had 40 DeLordos on it.
Okay.
And it rocked.
Really?
It rocked. The guy says, "Oh, I don't know how big it is, but it blew up the transmission doing burners, so I guess it was."
Did you
big
pull a
enough."
motor out of it yet?
Yeah, that's in the 356 now.
Oh, so did it have a? The first thing we usually look for is an 8-dowel flywheel. Did it have 8 dowels?
Never took the clutch off it
Never
when I
took
changed it.
Okay, I would have did that just to see. Is it a light and flywheel?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a good chance it's something.
It's something around a 1.8 or
Yeah.
a hot 1.7.
Yeah, right.
But there's that. And then I have a Zwitter in my trailer. Yeah, is that all of them? Yeah, I guess not.
It's an ice
6.
race car.
Oh, yeah. My oval window on a 70 chassis that is the ice race car. I have the Mendiola A-arm front suspension in it and killer transmission. And I've been going through 2-liter motors. I race it a year, then I sell them. They work good. I sell them, put another one in it.
Now, are you racing it this year at all?
I haven't had it on the ice for 7 years.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you've kind of been out of it for a little while.
It's maintaining its place on my hoist. Something always likes to sit on the hoist.
It's your new trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, me and Mike used to. I should start calling you Karlman because that's what your wife
Everybody
calls
else does.
you. So even his wife calls him Karlman. Did you notice this over here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
is it?
God,
It's
it's been a long time since I made that.
Yeah,
For our viewers at home that can't see because we're not on video, what are you pointing to there?
it's a Volkswagen man that Karlman is a master welder, and what is that, TIG rod or something? I don't even know.
Yeah, stainless.
He makes this little Volkswagen man. His head is a Volkswagen emblem, and he's got arms and legs and feet all made out of stainless rod. And would you give them away for Christmas one year or something, or just for shits and giggles?
I don't know if you get the only one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel up.
Because when I do art, I don't make very many.
No,
of
you
them.
don't. Yeah. Karlman's kind of artsy fartsy, so you never know what you're gonna get.
Hey, no, that's cool. I like that. I can appreciate that. I think that was the longest intro we've had for a guest on the show. But considering this
Well, how many guests have you had?
considering this is the,
Yeah.
the second show and you're our first guest, I mean, you should feel the special.
I'm privileged and honored. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah. But all right, so back to the topic of the show. We are talking about Volkswagens in Milwaukee. So what was popular with Volkswagens in the 90s? Like what was going on in the Milwaukee area for Volkswagens way back then?
Way back then.
I can't even get a grasp on that. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, oh, God, I wasn't doing drugs in the 90s. What the hell? Why can't I remember?
What shows were popular? Were there events going on? Were there any kind of...
when was the first...
First Mofoco was in the mid-'80s, wasn't it, at Union Grove?
Late 80s, 88, I think, 87. That's when they started doing those.
And that would be Bugfest?
Yeah.
Were those pretty much the show around here? Or were there like a lot of smaller shows? Or was that the biggest show?
I'm pretty sure that was it, but then again, I wasn't really doing a lot of shows then. Yeah, I think you either had to go to Milan or you had to go out west, and it was the Mofoco show. And their swap meet back then was packed. The car show was packed. Everything. It was tons and tons of people.
Yeah, everyone I talked to said the Bugfest from the 90s was like the heyday of Volkswagens in Wisconsin.
The pre-internet car shows were all word of mouth and advertising. I mean, they'd advertise on billboards and on the radio.
If you came in and bought up something from them, the flyer was on the counter. Here you go.
Here
We're
you
having
go.
a show.
Yeah, or your car just got filled with flyers at different shows. Yeah.
Now, how big were these shows? How many cars would you say show up for the car? Just the car show itself, like
hundreds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they get real like trailered in show cars. I just started showing my car about then. Yeah, it was big. It was really big. It all depends on what you went to these shows to do. You either went to the show to show your car, or look at show cars, or drag race, or swap meet.
Yep.
So they had drag racing going on during that.
Yeah.
They had everything.
All of these shows were all the same. They all had a swap meet. They all had a car show. They all had a drag race.
All Volkswagen stuff.
All air-cooled Volkswagen stuff. Bikini contests. Everyone had a bikini contest.
Let's talk more about that. No.
I mean, it was wild. It was.
Go through his collection. Get out the old hot VWs. You'll see it.
Yeah. I mean, that was... Back in the day, VW trends, every cover had a girl in a bikini on it, and it was their claim to fame. Something that wouldn't fly nowadays, but...
Were photos from Mofoco's Bugfest, were those in Hot VW magazines?
Yep.
And
Somebody covered the show. I'm not sure exactly who. It was whoever came from the West Coast to the show for the magazine.
What were you doing back then during all this that kept you involved in Volkswagens? Were you in any clubs or any organizations or anything? Or how were you meeting other people?
I knew a lot of people, so one person, next thing you know 10 more.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know how we met, tell you the truth.
I think Peter bringing me to your house in West Dallas.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter...
When you had the thing with the diamond plate floor and stuff in it. The dune buggy.
Dune buggy. Okay,
Yep.
When I had my dune buggy. Sure,
Yep.
sure. Yeah, because I met Peter when I still lived in Cudahy.
Now, who was Peter? What was he? How was he involved in all this?
Peter K is probably the oldest member of the group. How old is Peter now?
72.
Two?
I
Okay.
just turned 66. He's 6 years old.
We'll have him on the show eventually, but he is the guru of Volkswagen stuff. If you don't know who he is and you're into Volkswagens around here, then you're a pretty newbie.
I am a newbie, so explain to me. So.
Make the trek to his house sometime and sit in the garage and chat.
I mean,
so does he just work out of his house, or does he have a shop, or did he have a shop that all you guys kind of...
He always worked out of his house. He had a shop downtown Milwaukee in the hood, and then his wife, after a couple drive-by gangbang and, slugs went through the house a couple times, she decided they weren't going to live there anymore, and she found him a place out in the suburbs. and with a how big's his shop? Let's say like a 3-car in the front and 2 in the back, and
yeah, something like that.
it's all connected. It's pretty neat. You got to drive through the garage to get to the shop. He was the guy. He started working on Volkswagens back in the 80s, just fixing up hippies, college kids' Volkswagens. That's how he started doing it. Every college kid had a bus or a bug, and they were always broken because they're just college kids. And he would fix them, get paid that way. So then, and he started off-road racing too. So we'll get Peter K on the show. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how he connected a lot of people.
He actually, when he lived with his mom in McQuanigo, built a fiberglass body dune buggy.
Yeah,
right. In the mid 70s, late 70s, something like that.
Yeah, so we'll get him on the show because he connected a lot of people. He connected me with Scott Hansen because I was over at Peter's house, and Peter goes, "You should know this guy." And I'm like, "Who's this guy?" "Well, this guy does the same stuff you do. He builds hot rod motors, and he's doing the same stuff you're doing. And, best friends after that."
Cool.
So, yeah, Peter had a lot of influence,
Yeah.
And he was always, a super good guy,
Yeah.
So now you guys would just eventually, you'd buy parts off him, he'd sell you parts, and then
It was basically, back in the day, it was just networking.
networking?
Yeah, you were either buying something, selling something, looking for something, knew somebody was looking for something.
Yep.
I'm trying to fix this car to sell. I need this, that, and the other thing. Oh yeah, I got that. Or I'm stripping this out, or whatever.
I got a question I don't know any answer to. You go call Peter.
Yeah. And me and Peter would solve all the world's problems.
I used to play guess the part. It got to be a challenge for me to find something I could wrap in paper and give to him, and him tell me what it was. And I always tried to stump him, and he always blew me out of the water with it.
Really?
Yeah, you go, it's either this or it's that. It's like
it's that. But if you needed something, he would never turn you down. He'd never come up with an excuse. He'd be there for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super good guy. Me and Karlman, we're part of the Volkswagen, air-cooled Volkswagen ice racing group. How many people are in our group? Maybe half a dozen?
Yeah, if they all show up, I think we can squeeze 7 out of them. But
yeah,
some of us have retired.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I did it for 10 years. It's a lot of work. It's something to do in the wintertime, but man, it's brutal. I mean, a day like today, you would be all hyped up on a day like today because it's minus 10 degrees. I'm like, oh, that's fast ice, man. The slushy ice is bad for traction, but this hard ice, I remember sitting in the lanes waiting to run. It's like a time attack race. They just set up cones on a frozen lake, and we go around the cones, and there's a start and a stop, and you get a time out of that. But I remember sitting in the lanes waiting for my turn to go, and I think it was minus 4 degrees. And the car in front of me, I don't know if it was your car or not, but I could see an icicle forming from the exhaust tip down to the ice because you didn't move for long enough, and the exhaust was making steam, and it made an icicle from the exhaust pipe down to the lake. And I'm like, man, is it cold out? This is crazy.
How'd the heat work in your car?
Ice racing worked pretty good.
Oh.
I made special heater boxes out of J-tubes. So,
I was waiting for you to tell me that you didn't have heat or something.
Oh, some of them don't. Like
some of them haven't.
We'll get Tommy T on the show, and he never has heat. And
Greg too on his Type 4 motor that's in his.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I always had heat, man. I was not gonna
winding them tight.
Yeah, wind them tight, and the air's flowing out there pretty hot. So I made a set of heater boxes out of J tubes, and I welded some flat plate on them, and then I dissected a pair of heater boxes and just used the outside tin to cover it. And then you can buy them. CB sells them. These high flow, what are they, 1.5 inch though, or something?
Yeah, but aren't they really lightweight ones?
They're
not really meant for heat. They're
they don't have any fins or any kind of dissipating heat thing in them. But they stock heater boxes, they do not flow any exhaust. I mean, they pinch it down to 1.25 inches or something. They're bad for high performance stuff. So you got to do what you got to do. But see, the ice racing was put on by the Saab Club, SAAB, and the Saab Club was this real loose group, and the Saab Club ended up being the ice racing club basically, and then that turned into WAG, Wisconsin Autosports Group. Now, does that group even exist?
They have a website, and the website is, I don't think it's been updated.
How do they contact each other?
They
schedule races.
Used to have a website, and then like Fox Valley one, they would just throw an email up saying, "Yeah, we're going to do that."
Right.
But that was just lately. Before it was always, you knew every Sunday, show up.
Show up, right?
If we can get on the lake, we're racing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, and the season was short, man. You're lucky to get going the first week of the year, first week in January, and by the last week in February, we were all done. So if you got 5-6 races in, that was a lot.
How big were the races? Were there a lot of people showing up? Was it?
Yeah, well, there'd be half a dozen of us, air-cooled guys there, and we all had studded tires. And for a while there, we self-governed. We said, okay, we're going to use Menards Racing studded tires, and we're going to keep the motors kind of small, stock crank, just to keep it kind of even. And then it just exploded after that. Everybody had a 2-liter motor and dual carbs, and
then all the guys from Chicago started showing up. So sometimes there'd be 75 cars out there.
Yeah.
Really?
And then you would sit there. We'd make our runs because we were out there to chew it up for the rubber-tired people to give them some traction.
Just back it. These were all were these all just time races, or are you racing multiple vehicles?
No.
Okay. You just racing against the clock.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Chicago guys would show up. You'd have 75.
The Russians.
Yeah. Russians and the Polish guys. And some people would show up with brand new cars.
Yeah.
Or a race team showed up with that. That Lancer?
Yeah, the Lancer with the rally tires on it.
Oh my God, they were like watching their ice or the road rally people on TV out in Europe. They could put a cloud of stuff in the air like you couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
that car was so fast.
They had ice racing. It was all-wheel drive, turbo Lancer.
Wow.
And it had the rally with the baby little spikes on them. Like 1,000 spikes per tire, and it would just put a cloud.
So this wasn't in the 90s. This was further ahead, 2000.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, say the Lancer wasn't.
Yeah,
I don't know when that came out.
It was the late 90s Lancer, I'm sure.
But then there'd be
pre-Evo.
everything from Subarus, Audis, anything, BMWs, anything under the sun people would show up with. Mm-hmm. And some of them were brand new cars. Mm-hmm. The one guy put that dealer car, he worked at a dealership or he got a loaner from the dealership, and he put that thing in the lake.
Yeah.
So
he drowned
we don't know if he had a job when he got home.
Yeah, a couple cars ended up in the lake over the years.
God.
Yeah, that one kid, he borrowed his mom's car, brought it out there. He told him not to drive over there. Yep. There's parts of the lake where there's springs, and then where the spring comes up, it's a little sketchy. And you just need to. There's no cones around it or nothing. They
just said, don't
go over there. But sure, they're joyriding around, and boop, in she goes.
Just like nose first and eyes.
Yeah, nose first, ass up, and usually the water's up to the dashboard.
Because we're racing basically flooded fields. It's not really deep. It's not the channel of the river. It's very shallow.
Yeah, you could stand if it wasn't frozen. You could probably stand there, be up to your neck or your armpits or so, in muck. So yeah, it wasn't a real deep lake. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that.
Now, how'd you guys do it? Any of you guys win those events, or what are we looking at here?
We all have at one time or another lost.
Yeah, we've all set fast time at one point in time. I remember that time up in Oshkosh. This is one of the last years I was racing. I had a 2180 in the car, dual 48s on it. I mean, the thing was fast. And then Hilly set up a course that was...
There was a long...
there was a long straightaway. There was one cone halfway out in the middle of the lake that you went around. It was tight and twisty. You took off towards this cone and you came back and tight twisty. And then it ended. And this guy in his WRX had fast time until I went out. And then I went out and beat his time. This guy in his WRX just kept going out, and he was just going slower and slower and slower. And he never beat my time. He was so mad. It was a newer WRX, and I beat him in my 1970 piece of crap with license plates for floors.
Yeah.
And he was
That is awesome.
Yeah, and a two-wheel drive, VWs. And this guy's in a WRX with studs on all four.
Wow.
And 450 horsepower and everything. Couldn't hang with us.
Can't drive, got in the way.
Yeah, it wasn't all about the horsepower. We keep coming up with Peter Kay, but he was a good driver. He could take the biggest piece of crap and set fast time. And you're like, how the hell? Early in our ice racing career, we shared a car. I built the transmissions, he built the motor, and we shared driving. It was kind of neat. That's how I got into it. And then finally I built my own car. So I'm in the passenger seat watching him drive. I'm like, oh, God, I got to be able to pick up some of tips here, right? I just couldn't do it. I'd watch exactly what he was doing, what gear he was in, when he jammed on the brakes, when he did everything. I couldn't emulate it. I couldn't do it. He was just fast. Yeah.
I tried to learn too, and the only way you really could learn was just follow him.
Yeah,
and
stay behind him.
Mimic his lines.
Yeah, get in his lines and try to brake when he braked and get on the gas when he got on it. But sometimes it's like, how did he's walking away from me. I'm in the same lane. I'm following him. So I'm where he was on the track. He's still walking away. I'm like, how? He's making 50 less horsepower, and he's walking away from me.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, good driver.
So what were you, Mike, what were you running when you were ice racing and you were winning? Like, what was your setup?
Well, I started out with a Super Beetle. I wasn't winning with it, but I was having a lot of fun with it. And then I built a 58 ragtop, and Peter IRS'd it for me back before I knew how to do that. And that was fast. I had a 2276 in it, and I had a tranny that Peter built. That car was fast. And I went up to Oshkosh and got the hat for it, because the hat was your trophy for taking fast time. Went out to Sinisippi and got it.
Yeah, they gave me a flashlight when I won. They were out of hats. They gave me a flashlight.
He'll pull it out of his car for you?
Oh, it was brand new, and it was still in a box, and it had a Fox Valley, what was that, Fox Valley Sports Car Club or a sticker on it. Yeah. They ran out of hats.
Yeah. But it wasn't, I didn't win a lot. I won a couple times, but it was like therapy. It was better than going to a psychologist. You got done at the end of the day, especially the days when we raced. We had just studded events, so you would run till you were literally so tired you would pull off the track.
You're sweating, your arms are tired, you're wrung out.
And then we had night races.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh my God.
With the headlights,
so much
so
fun.
much
Ice
fun.
Racing
So you're on these lakes in the middle of the night.
Oh, it's pitch black too.
How the hell are you seeing where you're going?
You need headlights.
No, do they have? How do you see the course? Do they have it laid out with
cones?
Orange cones.
But they're not lit up or anything?
No.
Oh my God.
No. Well, it's a white, you could see without any, you're in the middle of a lake.
I mean, I guess if you're running the course all day, you kind of get used to the course, but I mean,
you just follow the leader, basically. Because they would send us out like spaced out.
Okay, so there's multiple cars out on there.
Right. But there's a good, 10 seconds between.
Because the timing equipment couldn't handle more than 3 cars on the course at a time.
Right.
So that's all it got to put out there. When we could go out and just rough up the track and warm up and everything, then it'd be nose to tail. You'd get everybody out there chasing each
other. It wasn't timed. It was just like practice.
Gotcha.
So we got out there and we didn't bang each other up, but it was a lot of fun.
No demo derby.
No, but it was fun.
That would be a blast. Are they still doing stuff like that?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what WAG's doing. Haven't heard anything. I've asked a few people. Haven't heard anything.
We're going to have to get these guys on the show and they can give us a rundown on what's going on.
We'll get Greg on the show.
There's not a lot of information out there for these events. Like, I don't know it's so hard to find this stuff.
Is anybody still ice racing out of our group?
Marcus. And
Tommy is. Tommy said he was going out
Aaron
this year.
Tommy goes, right?
Yeah, but they've been ended up like last year. I think it was all up in Stevens Point.
Oh,
I don't think they were doing anything down here.
Yeah, the ice is every year. It's a crapshoot. I mean, there've been years where we didn't race at all.
Right.
The ice was scout. It's like it never got cold enough. The ice never got thick enough. It's not going to happen. The ice needs to be 8 inches, 10 inches.
Yeah, I think they were pulling for 10 to 12
when
they'd go out and test drill.
Right, test drill. If it was, I think it was minimum with 10. But even then, we'd go out there and we'd all park in one spot in the lake and all the water be pumping up through the test holes. And I'm like, oh, man.
That's sketchy.
They're like, okay, everybody spread out.
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't need to be on the ice should probably be off the ice.
I'm getting my truck and trailer off the lake.
Yeah, Yeah, because we'd put all our truck and trailer right onto the ice and we'd all park in one big spot. And usually that's not a problem. But if it was nice enough out, it got a little sketchy. All right, what else are we going to talk about?
Right now, that one of the hardest things about owning a Volkswagen, if you're not mechanically inclined, finding somebody to work on your vehicle. It clearly wasn't like that back in the day. So who were the big shops? Like
Pickler on the south side.
I'm sorry, who?
Wes Pickler was on the south side.
Yeah, old Volkswagen.
Old Volkswagen?
Yeah.
Gene was in Wind Lake. Gene's
Bug Hut.
Gene's Bug Hut.
And then Milwaukee. What was that guy in Waukesha?
Jim's Bug Center.
Jim's Bug Center.
He was around.
Yeah, and these people are still around. Jim's Bug Center is still alive. And Milwaukee, of course, is still alive. Gene's Bug Hut
just went out of business.
Yeah, he just retired.
Wes's brother was in Burlington.
Yeah, Terry Pickler was, what is the name of his shop? Something Euro, something.
I can't remember.
That was in Burlington. Yeah, he closed down.
Tarkus,
yeah. I bought most of his stuff.
What was that guy that Mofoco bought all their stuff from when he went out of business?
Ed Bra.
Ed Bra,
yeah. Yeah, when he went out of business.
What was the name of his shop?
Ed Bross.
I brought. Okay.
It was on Lisbon, so Mofoco bought them out. Yeah, there was a lot of shops back in the 70s, 80s. You could take your Volkswagen to a corner gas station shop, and they would work. All these little shops. What was that one on Oklahoma? Kennars.
Yeah, there was a lot of
like 20th
small
and
name shops.
20th in Oklahoma.
But not small shops, but just named shops. And you never had to take them to them, so I didn't really pay attention to a lot of them.
Gotcha.
Right, we did our own, that's like Mike is probably just like me. I mean, we working on Volkswagens. I've made a good living at it. I mean, I got to have all the toys I got right now because I worked on Volkswagens. Wheeling and dealing, working on stuff that just it pays for itself. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, no, it's just I just wanted to tell the story about like then compared to now, because right now, like that's, like I said, I'm part of this car club, and that's a question I get asked regularly. Where do you take your vehicle? Like I have this, people join the club just to try and like communicate and network, and everybody always asks the question, oh, where do you take your vehicle? And I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. Like I do everything my own, but I'm always trying to find places to suggest to these people because there's not a lot of them out there nowadays.
And I would talk people out of buying a Volkswagen if they couldn't work on themselves by themselves.
And if they don't, at least buy a manual when they start, because they do such asinine questions that if you'd read the Bentley manual or Prescott's engine building book, or just what's available in literature, which people don't like to read paper anymore. If it's not told to them or reading it on a screen, they got no clue.
Yeah, it's difficult. If you're not mechanically inclined and you used to like Volkswagens and you just want to buy it because you think it's like an easy car to own, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it is pretty easy. When they run good. But just trying to work through all the nooks and crannies and figure out like what to do with it. Your average person who's buying the car doesn't know all that. I mean, I try to give as much advice as I can, and I try to tell them, hey, if you need something fixed, let me know. We can talk. I can try and talk you through it. I can basically give you places to go where I've looked for answers and stuff like that. But it's still, some of these people just want to have it fixed. They have the money, they want to take it somewhere, and that's not available nowadays.
Or they get older and they know what needs to get done. And there's still some shops, like we were just mentioning, there's still shops like Jim's Bug Center. They're still alive. They still work on Volkswagens. So, I get that all the time too. I need somebody to work on my car. Will you work on it? No. Where can I take it? Oh man, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there. Now, one thing we've talked about, and I think even at our last meeting, we talked about putting together a list of, what few shops there are in the area that actually work on Volkswagen, so we can at least let our members of the club know, where they can go to get their vehicles fixed. But it's such a small list right now. It's just interesting to know that like these vehicles were so popular back in the day that to now there's nobody out there doing this, which is
they've all melted away.
Yeah, you guys are getting too old.
Yep.
Well, the number of cars dwindled down to the point where it's the same cars over and over and over again. And almost every car I come across has been owned by a dozen people at least. And everybody that owned this thing has got their hand in it, monkeyed around with something. And it's that most cars, project cars now, they're just disasters.
Yeah.
These people tell me, I got a good deal on it.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I bet.
There's a reason for that.
I hope you did. Because this thing needs everything. And that's the thing. Most of these people, I'm looking for somebody, to tune up my car. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you should be able to do that by yourself. And they're like, well, it doesn't even start. Okay.
That's not a tune-up.
Yeah, that's a little more than a tune-up. And by the way, the brakes don't work. I'm like, oh.
Yep, I've had that happen.
And then it's like, no, this is way beyond your mechanical abilities. You should probably bail on this car. Yeah. But I like it so much.
Learn to fix it. That's what I tell them. If you like it that much, they're not that difficult to work on. Just learn to fix it. Like you said, get a manual.
Learn to weld. Take a welding class.
Yeah, welding, that's a little in-depth there. Like, if it comes to welding, then I'm starting to recommend shops. Like anything simple, brakes, headlights, fuses, blowing, stuff like that. Just
all
like
the stuff you can fix
get
at
in the
home.
manual.
Yeah.
Open up a manual. Go on YouTube. I've learned to completely rebuild a car from watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, YouTube is so hit or miss, though.
It is. You got to scroll through a lot of videos to find out the answer to your question. But they're out there. It's out there. I mean,
something's out there.
You'll find somebody if you look long enough that'll give you the information, and not just the information, but in a way that you can absorb it. That's the big thing.
Yes.
You can sit there and tell facts to people, till you're blue in the face. and they won't absorb anything.
Me and Prescott talk about that all the time. Facebook is the worst place to go ask for advice.
Yeah.
Somebody will post a question of, how do I fix this? And then they'll get 100 different answers from 100 different people.
Right. And none of them are right.
Did you see the one the other day? This just made me crack up. The car's running. He's bleeping the throttle, showing you the rotor spinning in the distributor. And the cap's laying off to the side.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell's that work?
I didn't understand any of that. But they didn't show the whole motor.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, there's got to be wires going in them spark plugs. This must have a crank trigger somewhere or something, right?
They're hiding something.
They're hiding something that, and, what's wrong with my car,
Yeah. And don't try to change, excuse me, don't try to change your fan belt like the guy does with the screwdriver. While it's running. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation on me and Sean. We always like, did you see the one? Did you see the one? And I'm like, man, I am not commenting on this.
No, I have to turn it real quick after I read it and look at it for a little bit. I'm like, I just want to say something.
Yeah, I do too.
I got a quick run.
Yeah.
I got to go.
I just want to say to the person at the original poster, right? Don't listen to any of this. This is all wrong. And I feel like doing it. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be that guy.
I always suggest your book and Bentley.
Yeah.
You want to know the answers? Here you go.
There's books.
There's books.
All right. Well, I think it's pretty much all we have for our show today. If you have any comments or questions about this show, feel free to email them at bcbugtalk@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at Brew City Bug Talk. Anything else you can think of adding?
No, I just want to thank K-Man here for showing up for our...
Thanks for inviting me.
And we're going to have all the locals on, and you can laugh at them, and they can tell you how good a job you did in being our first guest.
I really came over because I was promised beer, and geez,
All
we've done
right.
this whole thing without beer. No,
I said, what kind of beer does he drink? I'll go to the store and get it. And I was told that you don't drink beer.
well, I do, but I've had to really peter it back.
Oh, okay. I'm drinking alone today, because Prescott's got coffee.
I got coffee.
He's got a Gatorade, and I'm just an alcoholic. So,
Yeah.
well,
It is Brew City Bug Talk, but yeah.
Somebody needs to represent you.
Yeah, somebody's going to stay sober.
Yep. Can't be called Brew City Bug without somebody drinking a brew.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for listening. We do a bi-weekly podcast, so look for our next episode in about 2 weeks here. I'll be talking about Prescott's book and discussing all the ins and outs of that and how it came to what it is. So thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
Peace out, really?
Mm-hmm.
Peace out, homie.